Ireland Live, 3rd of June 2023. Does the U.S. call for a bully to speak up despite warning China against coercion and bullying? U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd assured Beijing that Washington remained committed to upholding the status quo on Taiwan and would choose dialogue over conflict, pledging that Washington would not tolerate any coercion and bullying of its allies and partners by China. Mr. Austin advocated for backing for Washington's vision of a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific within a world of rules and rights in his speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue, an annual forum bringing together top defense officials, diplomats, and leaders in Singapore. He argued that this was the best way to counter growing Chinese assertiveness in the area. The U.S. has been increasing its actions throughout the Indo-Pacific to challenge China's expansive territorial claims, including flying over and sailing through the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea. At the symposium held by the think tank International Institute for Strategic Studies, he declared, "We are committed to ensuring that every country can fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows. And every nation, big or small, must maintain its freedom to engage in legal maritime activities." Mr. Austin pointed out that the U.S. frequently participates in disaster relief and humanitarian assistance activities in the region and delivered millions of doses of the COVID-19 vaccine during the height of the pandemic that China began. He listed several concerns significant to Asian-Pacific countries, including the fight against climate change, illegal fishing, and maintaining uninterrupted supply chains. "We're doubling down on our alliances and partnerships," he declared. He added that the U.S. is dedicated to thwarting China's claims on Taiwan and North Korea's missile threat. Beijing claims sovereignty over this self-governing island democracy. Washington has reportedly increased defense planning, coordination, and training with regional allies. "To be clear," he declared, "we do not seek conflict or confrontation. But in the face of intimidation or pressure, we will not cower." A U.S.-guided missile destroyer and a Canadian frigate traveled through the Taiwan Strait on Saturday, waters where high seas freedoms of navigation and overflight apply by international law, according to the U.S. 7th Fleet, underscoring Mr. Austin's remarks. The Chinese response was not immediately known. Lieutenant General Jing Jianfeng of the Chinese delegation in Singapore to support General Li Shangfu, the defense minister, accused Mr. Austin of overtly or covertly making false but true accusations against China in his speech. After Mr. Austin finished, Mr. Jing talked with reporters. He claimed that the U.S. has been deceiving and exploiting the countries of the Asia-Pacific to further its self-interests and maintain its dominant position in the region. The AUKUS pact with Britain and Australia and the Quad alliance with Australia, India, and Japan, he claimed, are remnants of the Cold War that Washington has been holding onto to divide the world into ideologically driven camps and provoke confrontation. In contrast, Mr. Jing stated that China is committed to the region's development and prosperity and declined to take any questions. Mr. Austin made a point of assuring China that the U.S. was still deeply committed to the One China policy, which recognizes Beijing as the legitimate government of China while allowing for informal ties with Taiwan, and that it continues to categorically oppose unilateral changes to the status quo from either side. He pointed out the danger to the world if large nations were permitted to just invade their peaceful neighbors with impunity. Russia's invasion of Ukraine highlighted this. "Conflict is neither imminent nor inevitable," Mr. Austin declared. "It is up to us to maintain the current level of deterrence. Preserving tranquility and stability in the Taiwan Strait is essential to the world." Mr. Jing, however, maintained Beijing's position that Taiwan is an inalienable portion of China's sovereign territory and charged Washington with weakening the absurd One China policy by allegedly helping Taiwanese separatists without providing any supporting documentation. He declared we had no room to give in or make concessions. "China has questionable jurisdiction over the islands in the South China Sea and the nearby waterways," he continued. Although they shook hands before sitting on opposite sides of the same table together before the forum began, Mr. Li, appointed China's defense minister in March, rebuffed Mr. Austin's invitation to speak with him outside the conference. According to Mr. Austin, this is insufficient. "A cordial handshake over dinner is no substitute for a substantive engagement," he declared. As a result of Mr. Li's role in China's acquisition of combat aircraft and anti-aircraft missiles from Moscow in 2018, the U.S. slapped sanctions on Russia that are part of a larger package of measures against Russia but unrelated to its invasion of Ukraine. According to U.S. defense officials, the restrictions, which generally prohibit Mr. Li from conducting business in the U.S., do not preclude him from holding formal meetings.